Hello and welcome to Burr Global's PM training for project monitoring. Our points of discussion that we wish to talk today is our purpose and the responsibilities. And we should be asking ourselves who's holding each other accountable. We're then going to look at the overall process of what things we need to be doing to have a good workflow. And then finally, we're going to be talking about the tracking tools. What tools are available to help you along this process. So project monitoring in the life cycle is the first step of project execution. As you can see here, we have project planning, project execution, and project closeout. Monitoring is the first part of the beginning of the project execution. What do you folks feel is the purpose for monitoring the project? The one thing I'd like to say is no surprises and a happy client. What we want to do is validate the work that's being done, ensure the progress is being made that other people on your team is saying being made, and then plan and adjust the project staffing to ensure we meet on-time deliverable. And then most importantly, if there's any problem areas, we want to identify those very quickly. Are there any deviations, particularly from the client? We want to identify those. And most importantly of all, once we are done, we want the client to say that we gave them an excellent quality product. Throughout the execution phase of the job, we need to be constantly asking ourselves 3 questions. Are we doing the right things? Is my estimated percent complete accurate? And is that a change order? So many times in our meetings, we just ask, how's it going? And we only get a one-word answer, fine. If we can change our vocabulary to these specific questions, and then when we're talking about potential changes or scope or challenges, we're working together as a team. It's really all about communication. And so the goal of this is a tool for better communication between the project manager and the people executing the work. So let's talk about your responsibilities and the responsibilities of all the team members. Too many times we point to either just one person and they're accountable or just a project manager. All team members need to be familiar with the baseline project scope, schedule, and budget. A quick anecdote here. I had a lead designer on one of my migration projects, and he never looked at the hours budgeted for his work activities. His feeling was it takes what it takes. The problem is when you blow past the budgeted hours and don't communicate it, there isn't a plan to recover those hours, and it ends up having a very unhappy client. So what is the cycle of project monitoring? As project execution begins, the monitoring begins immediately, and every team member is responsible for doing these monitoring tasks for their work scope. Compare scope and quality against the plan, comparing the schedule and staff against the plan, comparing the budget against the plan, and then overall tracking and reporting progress. And then the best thing is when you look at that, there's always issues to change, adjust the plan to meet the target. What should stand out is project monitoring involves comparing to the original plan and making adjustments. Nothing is static in a project. The scope, the schedule, and the budget and the risk analysis documents are the initial plan. The goal is to get to the end together successfully as a team within the boundaries of the project. Throughout the execution phase, there are several blocks that I'd like to talk about that I think are the effective key measurements. Quantity, complexity, and length are the 3 primary. But things that can impact measurement is the detailed reference typicals, equipment specs, and even just the length of the deliverables lists or the assumptions and clarifications. Scope and quality versus plan. Was the scope clear from the proposal to the project execution plan? Are there areas of overlap between piping and instrumentation or civil and process? Have we identified the handoffs of those work areas? Are the quantities consistent with the scope document? Many times we hear that we bid 50 drawings and when the designer gets it, there's 100. Always checking that at the beginning is very important. And the project QA/QC plan. Have you reviewed it? Does everyone know how we're going to check drawings? And please include the time to do effective QA/QC. That is one of the most imperative things we'd like everyone to realize. On the staff, there's many things that can impact equipment deliveries for schedule. Is the staffing appropriate? A lot of times we say we can do it in 3 weeks and only put the staff on there that can only handle it in 6 weeks. Are there any delays due to the client or third parties? Are there any delays due to Borough Global processes? These are the things we should be asking every week of what's the impact to schedule. On the budget, it is the same thing. Here is a few areas to talk about. Is there anything where the original estimate was off? Are there any overages based on quantities changing? Or we budgeted a vessel at one cost and then there is added demurrage or shipping cost that makes it above the estimate. And always include contingency. Murphy's Law is alive and well, and we always need to be prepared for that plan. When the review cost reports come out, we need everyone to very aggressively be looking at it. These following 5 items are just a few that you can be looking at. Any large changes in spending, any non-billable, and sometimes that's just due to incorrect timesheet entry. Any charges by personnel not heavily involved. Sometimes people, when they run out of work, don't realize it and they just keep entering their timesheet and people aren't aware of it. And always be looking at percent expended versus spent, percent complete. These are 3 great questions that we should be asking along the way. Are we where we should be for the time and money? Or is there anything dependent upon something that may put us in jeopardy? And can we validate what people say? As a great man once said, trust but verify. And those are words that we should be using in our business every day. As we look at progress measurement, you can look at productivity with a resource loaded schedule. You can look at your estimated physical percent complete with your rules of credit, and always be applying your rules of credit consistently. There are a few things that progress and tasks can be made without showing progress, but you must always be validating, and there are some things that are nonlinear. And the hardest thing that I find is not everyone reports it in the same way. So these are the challenges that I hope we address, and we always look at what keeps us up at night. And if we do this as a team, we should be very effective. And then the main thing is there's always changes. And how do you adjust a plan? Just like a good quarterback on a football field after he reads the defense, are you adjusting to the plan? So does everyone fully understand the plan? And then do we make a decision? And one thing to bring up is there's no right or wrong. Every decision has an advantage and a disadvantage, and we need to be considering what those items are. Tracking tools. Borough Global has several very good tracking tools to use. The Primavera P6 or Microsoft Project for scheduling and manpower loading. We have project tools and several other document management systems. Obviously, Excel can be our very best friend for reports and tracking. And recently, we've had very good success with the recent deliverable quantity validation form and the deviation log. If you have not seen those, check those out. Here's an example of the DQV form. Reviewing the number of quantities along the way of the project, we have had great success in preventing severe overruns. And reviewing this with a client, we've had great reviews. Here's an example of a cost curve out of P6 and a schedule performance curve, SPI or CPI. Your level 3 cost report has many features and columns, primarily actual versus budget and also forecast to complete. Anytime you see anything in this area that may be exceeding, looking at it at the micro level before the macro level is a key skill that will keep a lot of people out of hot water. So using these ways to track progress and what's important gets everyone on the same page. We get consistency, repeatability, and we get roll-ups of the same data. We are encouraging everyone to participate in the project monitoring process. Where can you go for more information? Please go to the My Site, click on Operations, and here's Project Monitoring. This PowerPoint is here, along with the quiz you're about to take and an example of the QDC form. This is a work in progress, so please provide any input or suggestions to improve this site. So key takeaways. Monitoring must be continuous during the project. The project manager must monitor and review it on a regular basis, and the discipline leads must report progress. These are combined and as one. Always identify off-plan events and don't be afraid to implement adjustments quickly and proactively. That concludes this training. We hope you enjoyed it. Please take the test and provide any feedback of how we can be better. Thank you.